to jump on the call here. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Rob Valencius. I'm the national agent trainer here. I'm also the marketing operations supervisor. So wear many hats here at Pinnacle. Today we're going to be talking about a hot button topic that comes up, and when I was putting this together, this is something that I have to probably talk about 50 times a day now at this point, and that's not just externally but internally as well. So I thought I'd put a little something together, to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. So we in the senior market, we tend to hear a lot of, oh, well, seniors aren't this, seniors don't deal with technology, they're, blah. We're getting to a point where I really think that we're getting into a much more plugged in senior with technology. So you're going to start to see more and more of this being kind of crammed down your throat from an AI perspective. I don't think there's any stopping it, and it's going to continue to kind of weave itself into every aspect of our lives, not just in insurance, cars, gaming, TVs, obviously computers. I mean, it's going to be everywhere. So it's something you're going to have to get familiar with. And I thought, we kind of start with some terminology and definitions. You're going to hear these things, and that's kind of where we're going to start. I'll at some point show you some practicalities and tools that you can utilize, depending on what you're trying to do. But there's a lot out there, so I'm going to try to keep it to a couple things here to not confuse anybody. Before we go into anything now, I do want to make sure that people know this is being recorded. So if you have to hop off, you can do that. The system will actually automatically send you an email with the recording. So it's something you won't need to worry about. Also, keep in mind, you are in listen only mode. You cannot unmute yourself. And we do that because, you're going to hear babies crying, dogs barking, garage doors, you name it. We've heard it on these calls. So that does not mean you can't ask me questions. Feel free to hit me with any questions that you may have. Look, I didn't go to school for AI, so I'm not an expert in any way, but I do use AI probably more than the average person. So I could certainly try to do my best to answer your question. So give me 1 second here. All right. So here is so obviously, what is artificial intelligence? So AI is technology that enables computers to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence, understanding language, recognizing patterns, and making decisions, right? So artificial intelligence is the kind of the broad field, right, of making machines think and learn. You're going to hear the term machine learning. So that's AI that improves from data without explicit programming. And then you're going to hear something called generative AI. And that's AI that creates new content, right? Think ChatGPT, new content like text, images, code. So here's some key AI terminology. And I'm going to add another one on here that I didn't put on here as well that you're going to see a lot of, especially for this year. So the first one's LLM. You're going to hear, oh, well, that's an LLM. LLM stands for a large language model. That's AI trained on massive text data to understand and generate language. All of these models, all of these different things that you deal with are trained. So I will say something you do also need to keep in mind is that who is training these models? All right. So, you have these very large tech companies doing the training. So you can have LLMs, large language models, which would include ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama. I mean, there's a million out there at this point. They can be biased based on the training that they're receiving from the company that owns the LLM. So what I mean by that is, and I don't like to get political, but you can certainly plug into ChatGPT and say, hey, what do you think of Donald Trump? Might not have a glorified response to that. But then you have AI models like I'm sure everyone knows who Elon Musk is. He owns X, formerly Twitter. He has his own AI model called Grok. Now, Grok is probably the least politically correct of all the AIs. You could probably pose that same question, and you'll get a totally different answer. But they're still biased, right? Because these models are being trained by people. People tend to have motives. So I will say that you do need to take some of this with a grain of salt, because these models are being trained by humans. It is learning from us, but it does also have guardrails that these companies set. So keep that in mind. NLP, natural language processing. So that's AI that reads, interprets, and responds to human language. Chatbots. We're all familiar at this point with chatbots. A lot of them are AI powered now, so they're just basically AI powered assistants that can converse with users, and that's via text or voice. Now, I will say you'll see, and this is the other term that you're going to see a lot this year, and it's agentic, right? You're going to see this built more and more into things, but basically they're AI agents. You can give your AI agent a task, and depending upon what the task is, you can give it full permissions, limited permissions, and you can have it do things for you while you're doing something else. If anyone's plugged into the news, you might have saw some things about Claude bot. Now I think it's going by OpenClaw. And basically that was a kind of first rendition, which really kind of pushed the AI agents into another stratosphere. Now, that guy that created that actually was, I don't want to say he was purchased, but he was pretty much purchased, and now works for ChatGPT and OpenAI, who's the founder of ChatGPT. So, you're going to see a lot of the agentic stuff. It is really cool right now from a user standpoint. Unless you're very, very tech savvy, it's very hard to have an AI agent at the moment. More and more companies are making it easier. I know Claude, which is another AI company that's owned by Anthropic, they just came out with kind of their own version of an AI agent, which is a little bit more mainstream, but it still requires some tech stuff. So agentic is something you're going to see a lot, and it's going to continue to grow. And at some point, every person on this call is probably going to have their own AI agent doing things for them while they're sleeping, while they're eating, showering. There'll be no more of this, lost time, so to say, because AI is 24/7 and doesn't sleep. Next topic here, automation, right? Which is just using AI to handle repetitive tasks like data entry, emails, and scheduling. These AI agents are going to be really good at automation. It's almost like, if you have Apple, right, you have Siri. Some of the Android phones, you have I forget what the Samsung alternative is, but where you just say, hey, schedule this call for me at 3 p.m. on Tuesday, right? And it'll do it for you. With a lot of these AIs, the AI is going to reach out to you and say, hey, I want to schedule this for you for this specific task. Do you want to do that? And the back and forth is going to be a lot different than you just plugging in a ChatGPT. Hey, I don't know, when were the pyramids built and why, right? Random things like that you'd plug in. Or, hey, I need you to take this email that I wrote and make me sound more business oriented or more salesy or whatever it is. So you will start to see more automation tasks that AI is going to be able to do for you. Like maybe you have all of your clients in an Excel spreadsheet that you've had since 2001. And it's slowing down. Maybe you want to take it and kind of inject it, make it into something different. You can automate that by saying, hey, I need you to take this and make it better, and it'll do that for you, right? So the next thing is prompts. Now, prompts are instructions or questions that you give an AI tool to get a response. This might be the most important terminology on here, because at the end of the day, If you put crap into an AI, you're gonna get crap out. I actually had a AWS expert tell me that, which I thought was funny. So you have to get really good at prompting. The better you are at asking what you want, the better output you will get. At some point in the near future, it will be people's jobs to be prompt experts. I know that sounds crazy, right? But it's your ability to speak to the machine and get the prompt and get the exact output that you want. Because at the end of the day, in most cases, when you're prompt injecting into these AIs, they're giving you sometimes 90 to 100% of what you want. But in most cases, it's in that sweet spot of 50 to 75%. And what I mean by that is you're getting close to what you want. In some cases, you're going to get something that you didn't even think of, and you'll like that better, right? That happens all the time because it's thinking in kind of a different stratosphere than us, right? But in some cases, it's going to give us things that we kind of like, but we want adjusted. And then you have to go back in and you prompt again, and then it'll give you something that you like that's 85%. And then, at some point, you get the output that you want. And it's how many prompts does it take you to get there? And I want everyone on this call, I highly recommend, if you're playing with ChatGPT, see how long it takes you from a prompt perspective to get to the output that you want. And try to get better at prompting better, because it'll take less time for you, right? But also you'll get better outputs. The next thing I'm sure you've heard or seen, and not just recent with AI, but in general, right, is algorithm. The algorithm is a set of rules that the AI follows to analyze the data, find patterns, and make predictions. So every AI model has a different algorithm. Some are better at some things than others, right? Whereas ChatGPT might be really good at one thing, Claude might be really good at coding. It depends on what you're using. And then the other thing I didn't put on here, which is also something you're going to hear a lot, is models. So every AI has different models. And the best way to look at a model might be looking at your cell phone, right? I recently got the Samsung 25 Ultra because I had I think a 20 or 21, and it was time to upgrade. So, and of course now they're on 26. I'm already behind. But if you have an Apple, right? I think it's iPhone 17. But there's 16, 15. People still use 11 and 12. Now, unfortunately, the companies like to program you out of old phones so that you have to buy a new one. But and Apple, unfortunately, is known for that. But that's the best way to look at models in terms of AI, because obviously I could go older. I could have a 23 or 24 Samsung Galaxy, right? But it's going to be missing features. It's going to be slower. It's not going to be as sharp. And maybe there's certain things software-wise that it can't do that the new ones can. Right? AI is being fully built into 26. It's kind of crazy. So that's the same thing with these models for AI, right? So Claude has Opus 4.6. That's their newest model, and it's probably the best AI model out of anything. It is very, very good at what it does, and actually has somewhat of a personality. And then Sonnet, if you go down a model, is kind of their more general everyday model. And if you use ChatGPT, it's the same concept, right? You have 5.3, 5.2, 5.1. The higher model you go, the more tokens you use, and things run out quickly if you use a paid membership. So tokens is another thing. I don't think most people here are going to run out of tokens, because you really need to be doing some crazy things or using the highest end model. But basically tokens with AI is how they dictate your usage. Much like if you're, using electric, right? Your voltage, if you're using your gas in your home, they're monitoring that. AI, it's the same way. That's how they track your usage. And they do have limits on plans. And if you use it too much, then they're going to tell you need to upgrade your plan and spend more money. So that's some key terminologies and some things that I didn't also put on here that you should know. Make sure. Okay. So AI is reshaping our market. So this is just, some things pulled from an AI survey from 25 and some different research. 90% of insurance executives identify AI as a top strategic initiative. Think about that. So most of the major companies, right? We're looking at United Healthcare, Humana, Cigna, and that's just the senior market. That's not including all insurance or any market that we work in. I think AI is going to be a top strategic initiative, and you've probably seen it. I think it was the guy that owns Twitter. His company, was it Square? I mean, they laid off 40% of their workforce, and he literally told them it's because of AI. So you're going to start to see AI implemented in everything we do on that front as well. Underwriting, things like that, all of that is going to be automated, which it takes the human element out, which is good in some aspects, but it gets rid of the gray area, which some of our clients fall into. It's a lot of things are going to be black and white, which can hurt some people. 55% of insureds have moved to early or full AI adoption. I mean, you've seen this. Some carriers, like if you're in the life insurance market, you've seen GTL. They have a kind of an AI product for their life insurance or final expense, where it'll be underwritten by AI, which is pretty cool. But they specifically market that. 84% of health insurance insurers currently use AI or ML in some capacity. So, I mean, that's a big number, and I expect that to be closer to 95 to 100%. It's probably a lot of the regional carriers and things like that that can't afford to implement it. Claims processing time has been reduced 55 to 75% through AI automation. So when you couple that with 90% of insurance executives identifying AI as a top strategic initiative, just put 2 and 2 together. They're going to start to implement that into a lot of the different services that our people go through, right, and have to deal with. And then 1 in 3 independent agency employees already use AI for work tasks. I know here in the office, it's probably more 2 out of 3, if I had to guess. A lot of us use it for daily things. Gone is the days where you have to, physically comb through, hundreds of rows of an Excel spreadsheet. And I'll actually show you some of that, when we get to that point. Saw a hand raised. Let me just stop here. Is there any questions from anybody currently on the call? All right. Maybe that was an inadvertent hand raise. All right. So AI use cases for agents. Lead generation and prospecting. So there's AI-powered tools that can identify high-intent seniors turning 65 or when you're entering AEP. In a lot of these AI models, they are connected to the internet. So you can actually have a lot of these models do prospecting for you. Hey, ChatGPT, I need you to go through, here's my zip code. Tell me every senior housing center within a 10-mile radius. And it will pull, and I know you can do that with Google, but you can't really prompt Google Chrome or Google's search, whereas you can kind of break things down even more when you're talking to ChatGPT. And then when you're talking about agentic AI, in some cases you can say, hey, I need you to search out some senior events in the area and sign me up for a couple of these so I can have a booth or something like, that's just an idea, right? But with the agentic stuff, it even turns it into even more of a crazy scenario that, and I got to tell you, I built my own little AI agent, and it freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played with it in a little bit, but when you're having conversations with something that can just do things in a whim, it's a pretty it makes you feel like you're in the future, that's for sure. Client communication. So, you can draft personalized follow-up emails, birthday messages, and even renewal reminders in seconds. So, I mean, this one's very easy, right? At this point, I'm sure a lot of people on the call have attempted to use ChatGPT or one of the different models to create an email form, right? Or write something up that, is different than what you put in. This happens all the time, and it's something that is just, I mean, it saves a lot of time, right? Sometimes you have roadblocks, or I would say mind blocks, right? Where you're like, man, I don't know what to put in this email. And you put one sentence in and chat comes up with everything for you in 2 seconds. Plan comparison and quoting. So you can actually have these models quickly summarize and compare different plans for you. And, I know I have Medicare stuff listed here, but that could be life insurance. It could be ancillary products. The cool thing about this is you could just throw in, evidence of coverages and say, hey, compare these. Hey, create an Excel spreadsheet with these on it. I mean, this is something that if we wanted to do it, it would take us a long time. Now, I know we do have quoting softwares, right? Connector, Sunfire, things like that do make these things easier. But sometimes it's, if you want your own kind of personal look at things and you want to look at everything from a separate lens, you can do it through AI as well. Compliance and documentation. You can automate SOA documentation, right? Eventually. Appointment notes and CMS compliant record keeping. So appointment notes is a big one. The cool thing with a lot of these AI softwares is they're getting to a point where you can actually add them into a call, especially if you're on a computer, and it will actually record a whole transcript for you. For anyone on the call that uses Ring Central, so I use Ring Central to record my sales calls. I'm an agent myself. I have my license and I sell. It will actually transcript the entire conversation for you, which is pretty cool. And it will have an AI overview of it when you're done your conversation with all of the kind of hot button things you talked about, as well as the whole transcript of the call, which is nice to have, right? If you ever get a email from CMS or whatever the case is, then you have a lot of documentation, which is nice. So here's just a quick, review of what an AI action could be, right? So let's think about this. We're drafting an email, and it's an email that we have to really kind of put some thought into. It might take us 30 minutes. After AI, I mean, you could draft personalized emails in 60 seconds. It would have taken you, anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. You could draft probably 50 emails that are personalized in that same time frame. Researching and building side-by-side and plan sheets can be done instantly. And I will say the researching aspect, ChatGPT has a research mode, and you could really research anything. And it will comb through internet, it will comb through Reddit, it will comb through research papers, and it will give you a full breakdown of whatever topic you want. Now, the research side of things can take some time. Could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes for it to go through things. But for that same amount of time that would have taken you hours, it's a pretty wild thing. So AI can really kind of pull through, do a lot of the researching and help with side-by-side plan comparisons and things like that. Manually tracking birthdays, renewals, and T65 dates. AI can automatically timely outreach based on these client milestones, and that's not something that you're typically going to be able to utilize probably on your own. You probably are going to need a software that does that. I am going to show you a little bit of Boss, because Boss has its own AI built in, and Boss is the kind of our proprietary software that we use, and kind of show you what that looks like. And I think that'll kind of help visualize that a little bit. Looks like we have a question. How would AI not replace us? Listen, Jasmine, I think we're always gonna need certain skills. I would feel bad if I was and this is going to be maybe controversial. If I was a lawyer, I would feel a little anxiety, especially if I was a new lawyer. So I mean, for instance, Claude has what they call kind of instruction sets that you can download or that you can implement into it. A little different, and ChatGPT kind of has the same thing. You can kind of add plugins is the best way to do it. And they have a whole lawyer mode. I mean, at some point, and I think the problem is, right, is you have these junior lawyers, right? Someone that's fresh out of college. Well, typically they're going to join a law firm and they're going to do grunt work. Well, what happens when you have a junior lawyer and they can't do grunt work because the grunt work is all done by AI? So you have a well overpaid intern that doesn't need to do anything. I would be remiss to say that, you know, look, I have an IT degree and I'm glad I didn't go into coding. Now coders might be around for a while just because coding done by AI is not perfect. You know, but there will be a lot of jobs that are eradicated. However, there's going to be a lot of jobs that AI probably won't be able to do for a very long time, right? Plumbers, HVAC. I mean, the trade skill people, they're probably feeling pretty good right now because their job's not going to be replaced anytime soon. I don't see an AI robot coming in and able to diagnose your air conditioning unit is faulty because of a leak in the line for probably quite some time. So the trade skills people are I think going to remain unchanged, and in fact probably are going to continue to charge more and more, which is the crazy thing, right? Specialized jobs there. So tools you can start using today. Let me make sure. Let's have another question here. So AI health agents have been calling me with everything that you're saying with AI, and it sounds like we might be becoming obsolete. So if you're asking in terms of our jobs, right, as insurance agents, yeah, I mean, there's some scary things about this, right? Because AI can accurately help you find what plan you want, and as it gets better and better, you know, things will kind of look a little differently. But there's a lot of factors when you're talking seniors, and I think maybe for some seniors they'd rather talk to AI. But I do think a lot of seniors like that personal touch from an insurance agent. So I really don't think we're ever going to be totally obsolete. We're going to still be around. And I think that there's always a need for an insurance agent. And look, I'll be the first to tell you, when I first started 11 years ago, I didn't feel that way. I also didn't understand our business as much. But I do think that we provide a value that is tough to get. And I don't think it's something that an AI health agent, an AI bot, at least right now, can get anywhere near what we do, and understand it on a level that we understand it, because there's a lot of gray area. And I think that's where AI is going to struggle. Any industry where there's a gray area, AI will have an issue, because a lot of it is black and white. And, you know, we talked about this already, but a lot of it is dictated by the models and who they're trained by. And because you have that bias, I think there's going to be an issue there. Question: how do I use AI to automate my practice in CRM? Well, let's look. So here's some tools you can start using today: ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. So they're all very different, but they all pretty much do a lot of the same things, right? Drafting client emails, summarizing plan details, creating marketing content, prepping for seminars. So the cool thing about all these is they can really help you, especially from a branding perspective. You know, who am I? And more, especially you know, ChatGPT and Claude. I don't really use Gemini, so I don't have as much to say on that. But ChatGPT and Claude remember everything about you. So with their memory files as you talk more and more. And one thing I'd recommend is introduce yourself. If you're brand new and you're just starting to use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, make sure you tell them who you are and what you do. And I wouldn't give them, super personal details because, you do want to protect yourself, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But you do want to make sure they know who you are, because that'll dictate responses, and it'll come back to you, and it'll remember something that you said in 20 chats ago or something, right? Or it'll talk about your business. So if you're using this as a business tool, you do want to make sure that it knows who you are. Tell it your goals with your business. And what's cool about it is it will remember that, and it'll do what it can to help you grow. Content creation is just crazy. I mean, these things can really whip up a ton of things. Scripts, tell you what type of YouTube videos you should do, TikTok videos, how long they should be, titles, descriptions, tags. I mean, there is so much that these can do. So I do think we as insurance agents do need to get better at creating content. And I know it might not be something that you yourself want to do, but keep in mind, when you are on the internet, great way for people to find you, right? So if you're making Medicare 101 videos on YouTube, yeah, maybe you get 10 people that see it, or 15. One of them might be someone interested in buying what you're talking about. So we do need to get better at marketing ourselves, and I think these help. There is Microsoft Copilot, right? Copilot's built directly into all the Microsoft products. So that's Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They can automate all of those things for you, right? Emails, documents, spreadsheets. I'll tell you this. I do think that Copilot is not great. I'd say it's down the totem pole of AIs, but it does do a decent job when you are trying to get it to do something that you want it to do, right? Maybe it's an Excel formula that you have no idea how to program. It'll do it for you, or at least tell you what it should be. CRM AI features, right? So many agency CRMs like ours is Boss, have AI, which help you with insights and reminders and lead scoring, things like that. But I think this tip is important. Start with one. Get really, really good with one, and then you can start to open up and use others. I personally recommend Claude. I think Claude's probably the best AI model currently out there, but I also use ChatGPT. I use both of them. Sometimes I run out of tokens for Claude, because Claude, it's very quick to use something up when you have it create something for you sometimes. But if you're just having conversations, it's really hard to hit limits. So I would choose either ChatGPT or Claude, and I would get really good at using them. And once you get good with one, then you could kind of jump over. I started with ChatGPT, and now I probably use Claude a little bit more. But from an image generation standpoint, Claude's not good at image generation, whereas ChatGPT is. I have ChatGPT create all my YouTube thumbnails, and any generated photos that I need. I use ChatGPT. You also have trying to think of the best way to put it. You also have a couple other things. You have Grok that does image generation. They do pretty good with that. So not every AI is great at everything that you need it to do. So, and you can use the free versions. You don't have to do the paid ones. I do the paid things for ChatGPT and Claude because I do different things that I need them for. So you don't need the pro version, but they're cheap, right? It might be $20 a month. So $40 a month and 20 for each, and you can have really all of the marketing content that you would ever need to generate from just those two. whereas in the past you'd have to use different things. Now I also use Adobe for a lot of things, and Adobe has their own generation, and if you're looking to do certain things, Adobe's pretty good with pictures and content and stuff like that too. So here's just some risks and compliance stuff to consider. Obviously with CMS, right? AI generated marketing must still comply with CMS Medicare communication guidelines. You still need to get things approved by CMS, which takes a long time, unfortunately. So, if you're doing anything at all that requires, CMS approval, especially if you're doing it for AEP, I'd start pretty close to now because it takes sometimes, 2-3 months to get things approved. Make sure you review, and I can't stress this enough, review your AI output before sending. You are responsible for what goes out. You can't complain that it's ChatGPT's fault, right? I'm sure they have some pretty good lawyers. They're never going to get in trouble. And I preface this by saying, like, for instance, I'm on a diet, and I use ChatGPT to convert a lot of nutritional facts. Is it perfect? No. And I would think numbers would be something that they're good at. So it'll kick something out. A lot of times it's trying to make you happy. So it's going to give you what you want, but it might not be perfect. So just make sure you are double checking everything. I have people that I know that I'll talk to, agents that'll call me, and they're asking ChatGPT questions about, regulatory things. And Chat will give them one answer and I give them a different one. And they'll tell me, well, ChatGPT said, and the first thing I say to people is ChatGPT is not 100% accurate. So do your research and make sure you check your answers that you get, because you don't want to have one thing and it be totally wrong, right? Asking it about a specific SCP or something, be totally wrong. You can always call us too. We're always happy to. Privacy and client protection. You should never input client personal history information, PII, into public AI tools. Do not put your book of business reporting into ChatGPT or Claude or anything, right? Because there's social security numbers, there's health data, policy numbers. There can be eyes on that, right? ChatGPT still has people that review things. They can see that. That is a violation. So never, ever, ever put PHI into AI tools. Make sure you're using enterprise grade tools with data protection. You're going to hear this a lot, but it's something called SOC 2 is one of the highest protocols for security, especially in our world, that is very good for protection. Make sure when you're looking at things, it says it's SOC 2 compliant. AI accuracy and hallucinations, right? AI can generate incorrect or fabricated information, so you always fact check. Just fact check and double check numbers when you're doing it. Use AI, excuse me, as an assistant, not a replacement. AI is really good at helping us carve out time that we wouldn't have had if we didn't use the AI, right? So don't second guess yourself. If you're like, this SEP is valid, and then you plug it in ChatGPT and it says it's not, you're probably right. So stick with what you know, and verify the things that you don't. So getting started. This is kind of our wrap up for this, and then I'm going to show you some tools in action. Pick one. Start with ChatGPT or Claude. They're free, easy to use, and get good with one of them. Just try a simple task. Have it draft a follow-up email or summarize a plan benefit for you. Throw a summary of benefits or something in there. As I mentioned earlier, learn to prompt well. You want to be specific. You want to tell the AI who you are, what you need, in the format you want. The more prompts you take to get that answer means you need to get better. The less prompts that get you to your answer means you're getting good at it. You can build a prompt library, right? Save your best prompts, right? Things from AEP emails, SOA notes, seminar scripts. The script stuff is really good. It can do some really great stuff with scripts. So just have a prompt library. People will copy their prompts that are good and throw them into a Word document and save them for later. And expand gradually, right? Add new use cases each week. You know, lead follow-ups, content creation, plan research. You know, just start small, dip your toe, and grow from there. I recommend that to everybody. It's not the easiest thing because I think sometimes we all just want to jump in feet first, but you want to make sure that you are getting good every single time you use the software. So let me pause this for a second. All right, so this is ChatGPT. All right, you can do a couple different things here. I can attach files. I can also do a couple things that change this a little bit. I can create an image. I could do deep research. I can turn this into agent mode. I can turn it into quiz mode to help you study. There's some really cool things. You can even use voice. It has its own kind of voice chat where you can have conversations back and forth with it, which is pretty cool. If you go up here, this is you can kind of configure the model you want to use. A lot of times you want to do instant for everyday stuff, but they do have a thinking, which is going to give you kind of more input into things. It's going to take a little bit longer. Here, if you click over on the sidebar, it actually remembers all of your different chats, so you can actually revisit old chats. I do that all the time on my phone. But let's use a good use case for this. Say you have a website. You want to start blogging and create a website blog area. You can have ChatGPT write your blogs for you, right? So let's do this. I need a blog topic about Medicare Advantage that is client facing. All right, so here's what it's going to do. It's going to draft up a bunch of topics, right? And we're just going to let it do its thing. And you can even tell it, hey, I want 20 topic ideas. This just gave me 8, right? And then it also gives you a recommendation here, right? So let's go with its recommendation. Let's go with your recommendation. Write me an outline for that. So it's going to write an outline for this blog. All right. Gave you the title, gave you the introduction. What is Medicare Advantage? What's new and changing? Pros, cons. Now, you can prompt this to say, hey, I don't want this blog to be longer than 500 words or 500 characters or whatever. You can tell it you have like a stopping point. Now, what you can say, and it continues to prompt you, right? If you want next, I could turn this into a fully written thing, right? So let's just copy this or just say yes. And now it's going to write out the entire blog, and it's going to make sure that it's optimized for SEO and conversion. So what that means is SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's going to throw key words, key topics into here so that, you know, if someone were to search this and this is embedded into your website, or there's a blog page and this is written on your web page, it'll make it easier for people to find, right? So just did the outline, created everything for me. It's writing it all out. And when everything is said and done, all I'll need to do is copy and paste this thing into Word. Now, one thing I hate that chat GPT, well, most of them do this, is they love to put in these M dashes. This is, see this here? That highlight is called an M dash. So a lot of times they're going to write something out. When I'm prompting, I always tell them no M dashes. If I forget, I just say no M dashes. And what it'll do is it'll rewrite the whole blog. It'll take out all of the M dashes for you, which you can do yourself, but when you have something like AI, you should just let it do it. So I always will tell it no M dashes. And when everything's said and done, you'll have a fully written out blog that you can post on your website. Content, maybe you don't have a website, maybe you have Facebook. You can make this as a post on Facebook. You can even turn it into a Facebook ad if you want. Hey, check out this blog. Oh, if you're interested, click here to get more information, or whatever the case is. All right, so how fast was that? We did this in 2 minutes, and that was with prompting, right? So that's just a use case of ChatGPT. There's also other things you can do, right? So we have Excel here. Now Excel has Copilot, but I also use Claude. So I actually have Claude here. This is Claude's desktop app. I have it integrated into Excel. And now I can't use Claude because I used up all my tokens today, which, by the way, for all of you here that have stayed this long, right? This whole presentation was created by Claude. You can see this here. I mean, it built the whole thing out for me, and I adjusted things with what I wanted. And it did not take that long. Now I'm at my limits, unfortunately, with Claude, so I can't reprompt it for you. But pretty cool, right? You can create a whole Medicare 101 presentation yourself if you want in a minute, and it'll do that for you. Copilot, unfortunately, doesn't really do a great job with that, because I've used Copilot with it, but there's not many things that are AI oriented right now that are fully integrated. Claude's really good, right? Same thing here. I could click here. I haven't used this yet. That's why I did that. So and you can change the different things. So like I told you, Opus is the new high-end model. Sonnet is like it's kind of for everyday tasks. So maybe you have an Excel lead spreadsheet here. You could say, hey, I need this organized, whatever you want to say. And this would actually automatically do it for you. Now, it'll actually have a prompt that says, do you give me permission to change this? And it will do that for you. But the other cool thing is here is the more you use Claude, especially integrated into your PC, you can actually have it get more skills. Skills are just things you could download that make it better. I actually downloaded a Gmail skill, and I had it go through my Gmail emails and help me delete, because I have 50,000 Gmail emails. Claude has some other really cool things. If you see here, there's a couple tabs up here. Code is if you wanted to write an app, you could actually have it do it for you, or maybe you want to give it code that you have and have it debug it for you. It could do that. Cowork is probably the coolest thing outside of anything. This can actually do things on your computer for you without you involved. And I think that's the cool thing about AI and where we're going, is the agentic side of it. You just telling it to do something and then it just doing it, instead of you having to constantly prompt it. But I do want to challenge everybody on the call, and this is what we're going to end with today. From a prompt perspective, instead of always telling it what you want exactly, you can also do what they call a reverse prompt. And you can actually talk to the AI and tell it, what do you think I need out of this based on what you know from me? And you would be surprised at the really cool creations and things that the AI will do based on what it knows about you. So I always tell people to try to reverse prompt when possible, because your expectations and the things that you get out of it tend to be better than what you'd expect. Let me see here. Did you do the presentation in PowerPoint or transfer the text in PowerPoint? So Claudia, I did the entire thing in PowerPoint. All I did was, having Claude installed and signed in, I prompted it. I'm looking to create a presentation for AI 101 for insurance agents. And it created this whole thing. Now, I did provide it the Pinnacle Financial Services logo. So it gave me a whole proposed storyline, right? I gave it the logo, told it what I wanted, and I actually watched Claude create slide by slide what I wanted. And it was cool. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm a tech guy, I love this stuff. What this would have taken me to do, what it would have taken me maybe an hour, to look up some of this stuff. And then, but just to have the whole outline created, created the colors, the backgrounding. It even had little icons everywhere that I'm not the biggest fan of, so I got rid of them. But and all I did was kind of move some things around and make things bigger, so you guys didn't need to squint when you're reading this. So those are some of the use cases, and I just kind of wanted to show you some real world examples of what you can do and how you can do it. And I wanted to show you that the presentation you guys saw today was created by AI. And some of you might not even realize that that's what was happening. Now, I could have done that, but I wanted that to be kind of the twist of the day today. So let me just make sure there's no other questions, because we're hitting that hour mark, which is a little long. You guys don't have any questions for me today? I'm cool with it. That means I explained it or showed enough. Now, like I said, this is being recorded. So if you do want to rewatch, the system should send you an automatic email with all of the information today. So awesome, guys. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. This ran a little bit longer than we usually do. I said 20 to 30 minutes. We went closer to an hour. But I think that happens. Will the presentation be available to have as an example of AI? Yeah, absolutely. If someone wants me to send them the presentation, let me know. I'd be happy to send it over to you. There's no proprietary stuff on there. So yeah, I could do that. Just pop me an email. You can find my contact information on pfsinsurance.com. And just send me an email. Anyone that wants to, just send me an email, because I definitely will forget if you say that. So but yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time out of your day. And I'll do this again in the near future. Hopefully you got something out of this. Thank you, everybody. And I promise we're not going to be replaced by AI, at least not now. Everyone have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you.